Hey, what's going on, social media world? Aaron here, take four. All right, so this video is about the development of sexuality over time. And because of the fact that as much as we love Lady Gaga's Born This Way, sexuality develops over time. It's not necessarily a factor that people can control, but it develops over time. So being a jerk to your kids isn't going to make them become heterosexual. Okay? That's a note to the jerk parents out there. I read this article, and one of the points that it mentioned is oftentimes your first sexual experience really plays, or your first couple of sexual experiences really play a big role in the development of your sexuality. And I thought about myself and I was like, now that's interesting because I wasn't abused as a child or anything like that. And I know a lot of times us same gender loving people are forced to analyze our sexuality much deeper than heterosexual people. So a lot of times, a lot of people will think, oh, well, there was that time that I was sexually abused, so maybe that's the reason that I became homosexual. And I know a lot of, like, I have gay associates and friends who will say that quite strongly, that that's the reason why. But I was always like, well, I was never raped or abused or anything like that sexually, so explain me. But when I read that piece in that article, I thought about my first sexual experience, and my first sexual experience was indeed with a guy. And it wasn't, oh, so let me just tell you all the story. So here's what I was at the YMCA, and this guy, like, he was like my age, maybe he was like a year older than me, maybe, but he was like my age. We were both kids at the Y, and he approached me and he was like, hey, do you want to hump? And I was like, what's that? I don't even know what it is. And he's like, my parents told me about it yesterday. It's really nice. Like, it's supposed to feel really good. Let's do it. And I was like, okay. So we went into the boys' bathroom and we went into a stall together. Very romantic, very classy. And we just stood up and we took out our teeny tiny little penises, itty bitty little penises, and we stuck like we pulled it pulled it out, and we stuck our teeny tiny little penises together, and we wrapped tissue around it, and that was humping. And it must have felt good because we stayed there and we did it for a while. I guess just feeling on each other's prepubescent penises. I think that's the word. And I tell you, for the longest time, and this is sad, but before I really learned about the birds and the bees in depth, I really thought that I had impregnated him, because my concept of sex was when two people have sex, a child is born. So in my mind, I was like, well, we had sex, right? That was sex, right? So at least one of us would have had to get pregnant. And if I didn't get pregnant, then it must be him. And I was like, but I'm too young to pay child support. I'm sorry, I can't. I don't know where my child is, but I can't pay child support. And so I was like a deadbeat dad in the third grade. It was a doggone shame. But then I realized, oh, wait a minute, no, he's a guy, so that's not how it works. And then another time, a close connection of mine was like a couple of years later, like maybe two, approached me and was like, hey, do you want to suck each other's penis? And I was like, what? Again, naive, suburban, sheltered me. I was like, what? Like, people do that? Like, people put other people's penises in their mouth? And he was like, yeah, actually, it feels really good. Let's do it. And I was like, okay. And again, we went into the bathroom. My favorite place for doing that as a child. No, like, but we coincidentally did go into the bathroom again, and we sucked each other's penis. We didn't suck each other off because there was no semen, because the person who approached me with the idea was actually even younger than me, and I don't even think I was 11. Maybe I was 11, maybe I was 12. But I was young, so there was no semen for me. There was none for him. We did it, and then we stopped. So all of that to say, my first couple of sexual experiences were indeed homosexual, same gender loving. No, there was no relationship, but they were indeed homosexual. And as I grew up and I would think about sexual things, and as my sexuality was developing, those were my reference points. So when I read that article not too long ago, for a while I was like, oh my gosh, I wonder if those experiences made me gay. Because when I think about that time period, and I'll make this other part in another video, but when I think about that time period, I legitimately did have crushes on women, um, and I legitimately did find women attractive. And it's not that I don't now. I think that most people are somewhere in the middle. I keep saying I'm going to do a video about the Kinsey scale, but I think most people are somewhere in the middle. I would probably be mostly on the homosexual side, but kind of in the middle of the homosexual side. Like not in the middle of heterosexual, homosexual, but in the middle of the homosexual side. Like I'm not like completely over there. But it's not that I've never found, so I'd say maybe like 75, 85% homosexual, but or same gender loving. But I legitimately wondered. I was like, I wonder if that played a role. Like, what if, a little, because I used to have a crush on this girl, a number of women. I even bought one woman a little place ring, a little play ring, because I was legitimately attracted to her. She was legitimately, and I'm saying woman, but these are like childhood kitty little crushes or whatever. But I wonder if I didn't have those two sexual experiences with men, would I have grown up to be heterosexual? But I was talking with a friend of mine yesterday, but I was talking with him about it, and he explained to me that his sexuality, or his, that he remembers being like, and we're like the same age, we're both 83 babies. He remembers being as young as 5 and having a crush on a dude. His first sexual experience was with a man, but it was with a man. It was when he was like 15, you know? So at that point, sexuality is already pretty much being developed as far as a preference. So he knew what he liked. And he said he remembered even having a crush on a guy at like 5 years old. So in spite of the fact that he didn't have some guy at the YMCA say, hey, do you want to hump in the bathroom? You know, I guess that sort of just confuses things. I don't know as far as sexuality. I was actually going to call Dan Savage and ask him what he thinks on his show. But, yeah. What do y'all think? There we go. That's a good question. What do y'all think as far as the development of sexuality over time? What plays a role? What makes it so? You know? I don't know. Talk to y'all later, social media world. Peace. Be blessed.